So today I seen a question on one of the Facebook groups, and it was basically like, how many past lives have you had? And the question caught me because, of course, it's first of all a question you don't see very often passed around on social media. And secondly, it caught my attention because I've often thought, okay, we had past lives, okay, but what about the future lives? Like, how many future lives are we going to have? And this question was part of my motivation to become a monk. For about 5 years, I lived as a monk in Vedic ashrams in Europe and in India, and that was part of my motivation. The other part was how to be happy, because I had everything. I had the freedom, I had whatever I wanted, but I was still very unhappy. So coming back to the point of lives, how many past lives we have. And I found it's like compared to when you have a sickness, and you go to the doctor, it's not so important where the disease came from. In some cases, yeah, because you help to solve it. But most importantly is solving that disease or curing that disease or getting out of that situation, that bad situation that you are in. Therefore, the question of how many future lives do we have, I find is more important than knowing about our past lives, because sure, our past lives brought us to this life, but if we look at this life and what we're doing in this life, then we are able to know where we are going in the next lives. So people are asking me, well, did you find out what's the answer from all these many years of study and living as a monk and so on? And yeah, I want to share in this video what I found to be the answers. And these are not my speculations or somebody else's speculations or something they made up, but it's coming from years in ancient philosophy, mostly from this book I have right here, which is one of the 5,000-year-old books on the topic from ancient India. And to sum it up and make it very short, we have who knows how many lives we've been going through. And the process of going from one life to the next life, we have to understand. And then we will also be able to understand how to get out of that cycle. In Sanskrit, it's called samsara. That means like the wheel of birth and death. You get born, you die, again you get born, you die. So how is it that one person is born to a millionaire or billionaire and somebody else is born in a very poor family where there's war or something like that? Like, what is controlling all of that is one question that's answered in this book. And yeah, of course, has to do with the law of karma. So karma basically means action, like what we are doing. It literally in Sanskrit, karma is a word for work or for activity. And our activities then are creating our mindset. And our mindset is what brings us into the next life. It's said in this book that the soul is carried from one body to another, just like a smell or an aroma of something is carried by the wind to the next body. So the soul is carried by the consciousness or the mind to the next body. So basically, how we get to our next life depends on our consciousness that we have, combined with our karma, with our, like, let's say our credit, our bank balance. Someone who does a lot of good things and is a good person and so on, he gets a better life than somebody who is lying, cheating, stealing, killing, and so many things. He gets a worse life. This applies not only to people but also to animals, by the way. Whether you are good to animals or unkind to animals, in the same way you get different types of bodies. So, back to the original question, how many future lives do we have? Well, as long as we keep creating a mindset and keep building karma, or keep inside of that wheel of karma where we're doing things, we're getting the reaction, we're doing things, getting the reaction, as long as we stay in that like hamster wheel of samsara, then future lives are unlimited, actually. So this brings to the second point, but there is a way to get out. And for this we have to look a little deeper in the background, like what is the soul? Okay, the soul is eternal, right? He has many lives. The body is not eternal, but the soul is eternal. So if the soul is eternal, then why is the soul stuck in this world where things are not eternal, where things are always changing? If the soul is eternal, the soul wants happiness, and the soul is also full of knowledge, then why in this world we find unhappiness, we find things are temporary and always changing and making us unhappy, and also a lot of ignorance? So the answer to this is, again, from this book. I'm not just speculating this. It's what I've spent years and years and years studying and still learning and still going deeper. So the answer basically is that we are in an artificial place, just like a fish is out of the water, can never be happy. No matter what you give the fish, he's never happy until you put him back in the water. So in the same way, our spirit souls we are not happy until we are back into a spiritual world and not anymore in this material world, which is full of struggle, which is full of 4 things: birth, death, old age, and disease, which means suffering. So if we want to get out of this birth and death, again past lives, again future lives, past lives going on forever and ever, then we have to get in touch with our spiritual self, our spiritual soul, and develop that so that the consciousness is fixed on the spiritual world, on the spiritual reality, and that will carry our soul when it leaves this body. Remember, the consciousness carries the soul from one body to another. Consciousness will carry our soul from one body to spiritual reality. That's the whole point, and that's also the whole point of Bhakti Yoga, like is explained in this verse, in this book, basically about how to say, I'm forgetting the English words in German, to orientate ourselves. It's about orientating ourselves or fixing our consciousness on the spiritual vision, on where we want to go. You know, just like it said, when you want to travel from point A to point B, you have to know that you want to get to point B. Otherwise, you never know if you're going to get there or whatever. You're just wandering around. So it's described also, that's what we do in this material world. We're just wandering around, you know, bumping into things, more or less, trying to make the best use of a bad bargain. So that being said, if you've watched this far in the video, you're probably interested to know more. I highly suggest get this book. You can find it all over on Amazon, on wherever. The important thing is there are many different translations of this Bhagavad Gita. I highly suggest this one, Bhagavad Gita As It Is, and it's been translated into many, many languages. This is the author, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There you can see his name right there. Just type in Bhagavad Gita As It Is in the search and you should be able to find it. And I wish you all the best and a lot of success to find happiness in this world. But even when we do find happiness and even when we do make a contribution in this world, it's temporary, and we are building for the next life, which will... You cannot have the happiness without suffering. That's how it works here. So if we want only the happiness, we have to go where our soul is at home, where it's natural in the spiritual world. And, you know, there are many traditions all over the world, many religions all over the world, and of course they all point to basically the same thing, with more or less different tactics, different ways, different ideology, different hiccups, if you will. And hope that helped. Would love to hear from you, and wherever you can comment on this, your questions, your reactions, which thoughts it provoked. I would really love to hear, because people want to hear more. Maybe I'll make more videos about this topic and other topics. And yeah, thank you for watching. All the best and have a great day.